Good morning, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Um, Thank you so much for adding into your name, where you're coming from. We appreciate that. It just helps us to see really the diversity in the room. And when you look at all the different places, I think I saw Indonesia and Germany and many places in the United States. It's just great to see everyone in the room today. So I am Jen Koech, and I get to work with DKU International Families, really from admissions all the way through alumni. And so our goal in family engagement is to help parents better understand their students' experience so they can best support their student on their DKU journey. And today we have a great group of parents who are eager to share their experiences with you. First, a note about the format and what to expect for our time together. So first, I'm going to share a video by our Dean of Student Experience, and then I will ask our parents, our panelists, to introduce themselves. And then I will ask a series of questions that you have submitted in the event registration. So finally, we will open it to live questions at the end. Please also utilize the chat to ask questions. My colleagues in international enrollment have also joined our time today and will be monitoring the chat. Okay, so let's get started. I am going to share now a welcome video from our Dean of Student Experience, Dr. Christopher Van Velzer. So just give me a moment here to get that started.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, wherever and whatever time zone you might be joining from. On behalf of DKU and the Office of Student Experience, I want to say welcome to this very special parent session. My name is Dr. Christopher Van Velzer. I am the Dean of Student Experience at DKU. And the easiest way to think of student experience is the very large unit that covers really from start to finish the entire journey that your student is going to be on, especially the parts that are explicitly outside of the classroom, but that complement your student success in the classroom. So that would be things like residence life and where they live, campus engagement and leadership programs, athletics, international student services, counseling, wellness and accommodation and disability services, global education, career services, really beginning now from this point of decision all the way through when your student would be arriving on campus for orientation, all the growth and the journey that they'll have in their 4 years at DKU, including and up to the moments that they begin to really finalize what is it that I'm going to do after DKU for my career or for graduate school. We cover all of that in this area. And it is our life's privilege, truly, and joy to get to work with students like yours in this most extraordinary place. I want to start by saying that I understand you're in the middle of huge life decisions with your student, and that you are doing your best and you are trying to think of all the things that have gone into leading up to this point and that will advise them on what the best choice is for them, what the best place is for them, both to go to university or college. And in this case, for most of you, I imagine, whether or not that involves coming all the way to China to do this very special degree at Kunshan University. For some context, I have been in China for about 20 years now myself. I met my wife here, Venezuelan Colombian. We have twin daughters who are rushing headlong into their teen years. So I understand a lot of where you are as a parent and all of the life stages that have come before this moment. I think all the time about the life stages that are coming up for my own daughters, who, despite having grown up and lived here, I know will face their own decisions of where do I want to be and what will be best for me when it comes to college or university. And the hint there is I hope they come to DKU, but I need to allow them to make their own decisions too. So I understand, and I've worked with literally at this point thousands and thousands of both international students who have been coming to China as part of their higher education experience, studying abroad here or enrolling full-time at a place like DKU. I've, of course, also worked with many thousands of Chinese students who've also been in a unique U.S.-style liberal arts education in China. All of that pieced together is a very special, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and experience. And it's part of what's kept me here is the joy of getting to work with students in that particular journey and in what I believe is one of the most important places that a student can learn and grow at this stage in their life, to understand what it means to be a part of all of these globals we talk about, being a global citizen or part of a global community, to do that in China, to understand China well, but to also, as a result, come out of that education with a deeper understanding of their own identity, their own cultural background, and what they uniquely contribute alongside of all the other cultures that they're surrounded by in this world. We've got some fantastic parents of DKU students to share with you tonight. These are parents that I also know and have gotten to work with closely over the years. We have not paid them to say anything, I assure you. But they're also wonderful people, and each of them was also at the same point of decision with their student a number of years ago. And it's been a delight to get to work with their students at DKU. Beyond that, I think the only other thing that I want to leave you with tonight, because I know the focus is really on hearing directly from other parents of students that are at DKU. I want to assure you that at DKU, one of the most fantastic and unique things that has made this it's made this the best place I've ever had the opportunity to work. It's really, if I could have designed a place to get to be, designed a university in concept that would be exactly all the things that I believe are most important in an education, in a cross-cultural experience, in a life experience for students at this exact stage of their life. DKU really would be it. And I mean that with all the sincerity in my heart. This is such a unique campus and such a unique community in so many ways. And community, that word, is really at the heart of what we do. Your student right now is considering joining this community. And it's an amazing community, the likes of which I've never seen or been a part of in a college experience before in my life. I think it is, without exaggeration, I think it is unique in the world. We are here to support your student at every step along the way and to work with you, to partner with you in doing that. This is a huge period of growth in your student's life. They're going to change and come to discover themselves and their dreams and their purpose in really exciting ways. And that's what makes this work so fun, is because we get to do that alongside of your students, and we get to do that alongside of you. So again, thank you for joining us tonight. I know you have lots of questions, and for many of you that comes with just the generalized anxiety of China seems so far away, and how does this all really work? And, you know, is this going to be all the things that I think it might be? And you will probably discover it will be both all of those things and more in wonderful ways. There are going to be challenges with any intercultural, cross-cultural move, which would apply to all of you, all of your students. I'll remind you that it's those challenges, it's that stretching of who we are, that we tailor a lot of what we do to specifically support and prepare them for, because it's in that stretching that I think the real growth occurs. And that's also one of the most exciting parts of what we get to do here. So thank you for joining us tonight. I hope you enjoy this session, and we will continue to be in touch with many of these sessions over the upcoming weeks and months, and certainly leading into your students' arrival on campus. Note, I didn't make that a question, but a determinative statement. We are so looking forward to getting to know you and your student, and we look forward to that interaction over years to come. Thank you, everyone.
So now I want to invite all of our panelists to introduce themselves by answering your name and the name of your student's current year and major at DKU, and have you visited campus lately, and what was your experience like? So Sean, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself first.
Sure, thanks, Jenna. My name is Sean Morton. My wife, Emily Sue, who cannot be here this evening, she sends her regrets. Our son, William Morton, graduated from DKU last May. He majored in behavioral sciences. We visited twice. Once I visited alone. I was on a business trip to Shanghai, and I visited DKU while I was there. And then we spent time as a family during the graduation week. So my wife, myself, and William's younger brother. So that's been my experience with DKU, which is a interesting little school next to a really major city where you get, in some ways, the advantages and some of the challenges of both of those things.
Thank you, Sean. Rose?
Hi, Jen. Thank you. Welcome, everyone, especially the class of 2029 parents. So exciting to be with everyone this morning. My name is Rose Su, and my daughter is Michelle Tom. She's a senior at the DKU. She majored in the public policy. I visited campus multiple times. The most recent one is the last August summer. I took my younger daughter with me. Miley definitely fell in love with the campus. It's a beautiful campus, and she also loves to play volleyball. Guess what? She actually played with the volleyball team, the girls team, one night together, and they just opened arms, welcomed her. So we definitely had a great time visiting the campus. Thank you, Jen.
Thanks, Rose. Fabio and Patricia?
Hello and good morning, Fabio and Patricia from Brazil, father of Felipe, graduating economics, class of 26.
Yeah, and Fabio will help me with the English task. So sorry about that, but I think it's gonna be better this way. Felipe love Duke University. So you have some problems at the beginning, of course, but I'm very happy to ask any questions that you have like a mom. So
And we visited the campus
twice,
twice, twice, and he's really fascinated about Duke. Kunshan.
Thank you. Now Brian and Katie?
Hi, we're Brian and Katie Thomas, and our daughter is Anna Grace, and she's in her first year, freshman at DKU. She is wanting to major in computation and design with a track in digital media, way beyond us what that really entails, but she's looking to do that. So
she went in August, we went with her. Not that she wanted us to, but we didn't know that till we got to China. But it was a gift to get to go see the campus, and once we were there, see immediately that she was at home, that this was the right place for her. And then the other thing that struck us is Duke Kunshan and the area around the university felt safer than our other daughter who goes to school in the States. So when people would ask us, how could you send her to China? She is so safe. She's such in a great place and is truly loving DKU.
Thank you, Brian and Katie. Debesh? Oh, Debesh, you're muted.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. This is Devesh Lohani. My son, Munis, is studying the first year in the computational and planning to study computation and applied mathematics in the DKU. I haven't visited DKU till now, but my son came back in his leave, in his holidays in this winter, and he's very much interested to study there. And China is my neighboring country because I'm living in Nepal. So the time difference is only 2 hours, 15 minutes. So it is very easier for me to visit there, and my son also come back home frequently when the holidays are there. And He likes the university so much than his school days in the Nepal, and he feels more safer in the university as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Devesh. And kind of picking up on some of the things you've already all mentioned, I'm wondering what was your first reaction when your students said they wanted to study in China? And what was it about DKU that made you think it was the right university for your student? Panelists, any of you can jump in on this question?
I think I will go. So I actually fell in love with the DKU program because I am an alumni of Wuhan University. So I get to know when the program started, established, and I think it's a fantastic idea. It is, you really, you really can't find any better opportunity to send your kids to see the world when they're young. So I think this program speaks to me in that sense. And also, I have confidence, a lot of confidence in, the academia teaching in Duke University, Wuhan University. So I think DKU as experimenting, the program that, teach our kids, it really speaks the best of, teaching our kids in the classroom with a fun liberal arts program. Also, they were placed the third year at Duke campus, to experience, the broader, the subjects in teaching. And also, the kids learned a ton, outside the classroom. That's something special about this program. So as what I see the DKU campus, it says in China for the world. And this program truly speaks about that. And it's a very diversified students body, very open-minded students body, and with really great teaching from professors. So, so it's easy choice for me looking back. It's not that easy for my daughter because she grew up in the United States. But after 4 years, I truly see the growth in her. So it's a combination choice, I have to say. On the time, she has many good programs, so she has to pick one. And then we have a lot of debate, but it'd be much easier for my younger daughter, right? So yeah, that's just my 2 cents about this program.
Yeah, for our family, it wasn't such a huge surprise. William had done a summer program following his junior year that was an international program. There were students there from all over the world. He very much liked that experience, and he felt like this would be something like that as well. My wife's parents were born in China. She was born here. She had been back one time, taken him and his brother there as well. So I think she liked the idea of him having that experience. She liked the China part in particular. He liked the international part in particular. It did feel like it was a little bit of a leap, but really not a huge one given that background. And it was very much his idea.
In terms of the feeling, Jan and all the others, it was a tie. I was very excited. My wife was very, very nervous, when Felipe said I have a choice, and he was between going to U.S. or going to China. We let him decide. We were offering him to visit both campus, and certainly the China was a way longer trip, different than the gentleman from Nepal. For us, it's 2 legs of 12-hour flight. So my wife was saying, no way he's going to go there because I'll never be able to visit. But finally he decided, and now both my wife and I, because of Felipe's growth, we're very happy. We were lucky again to visit him last February, and then I visited last October. And every other visit, and we're going to visit him. He's now on North Carolina, and in a couple of weeks, we're going to go visit him. And every time we see a more mature young adult being formed. And as the gentleman, I'm bad with names, but it is all about growth. And it is a period of extreme growth for him, positive one.
And we were surprised when our daughter wanted to go study in another country because she's more of our introverted, I love my home, I'm going to stay here. And we didn't expect her to get in because we knew it was hard to get in. But we adopted her from China when she was an infant. And so it also made so much sense to be able to let her go back to China and So even though the money was probably very overwhelming to look at, she was excited to have the possibilities to travel and has really, really loved the international aspect that she can say, I have a friend from Vietnam and I have a friend from, all over. And that piece she has really loved. So even though it's a small school, it also is very large because of the international aspect.
I'm very much excited when my son wants to study in the DKU. He got some scholarship in the United States as well, but he wants to go to DKU. And he told me that DKU gave 2 degrees at the graduations from DKU University as well as from the DKU and China. And it is very much good certifications that he will get after he graduated from that university. So besides going to US, he wants to study there, and then he turned there to get admission, and he started to inquiring about the university himself. So we finally accept his opinion.
Thank you all. And another really common question that parents have and that you put in your registration is not knowing Chinese a barrier in attending DKU? And in general, how have you observed your students' language learning progress? Would love to hear more about that.
I was amazed at how fluent he became. I mean, he did the 4 semesters while he was there, didn't know any Chinese when he left. So it wasn't really a barrier to getting assimilated or getting there. He learned the language, while he was there. And by the time he graduated, when we visited him last year after graduation, we did some additional traveling in China, went to Xi'an and Beijing, and it was really nice to have someone that fluent. And it was actually kind of amazing to be, with that kid who only spoke English 3 years previously, managing all the directions and getting us from place to place in a country that is very far from the United States. So I think I think a couple of people mentioned growth. I mean, there was a real measuring stick of growth that was pretty amazing. But no, not knowing Chinese going there wasn't a barrier at all.
Similar to Sean, my wife and we found that not knowing Chinese is not a barrier, and we visited a number of cities, first with Felipe and then by ourselves. And Felipe, when he decided to go to China, he was already into studying Chinese. He started studying Chinese with 14, at the age of 14, and then it was a natural kind of decision, and he was fluent, almost fluent. So for him, being in China is easy because of knowing Chinese. But on the campus, it's absolutely not a problem. And outside, now again, for me and my wife, it's absolutely safe. And Felipe was more worried about me wandering around when he was at campus than myself. So it is a safe place.
I just have a quick comment on the language. So Michelle, my husband grew up in the United States, so we speak English to each other. So Michelle, but I do speak Chinese to my kids. So Michelle has good grasp of Chinese, but not like, really fluent to the point. So, but DKU will do a language test before the entry, so we'll place them in the right level. So as Fabio and Sean mentioned, you don't need to worry about if your kids don't speak Chinese. They will learn Chinese, and also Kunshan and next to the Shanghai is a international city, so you will see a lot of sign in English. The announcing in the train, you'll see it in English too, as well as in Chinese. So it is a great environment for them to learn a foreign language. And and the other thing I want to comment, if your kids have Chinese language, some of the basics, they will learn so much more at the DKU because they will get into the culture side, the sensitivity of the Chinese culture versus the culture from West, or there's very different. There's the culture is subtlety there, so the kids will be able to learn at their level, at their speed. There's no limits. There's always a level they can learn. So that's the thing about Chinese learning at DKU.
My
And
son does.
go ahead.
My son doesn't speak or know the Chinese single word, and he went there some 6-8 months ago, and now he has something he learned, and he told me that that the language is not the barrier for him, because in the campus, um, all are speaking in English. In the outside the campus also, English is can be used uh, in their daily life, and one of his roommate also help him to cope with the Chinese online shops and other things when he required. So it is very easy for him to do his study. So the language will not be a barrier, and it is not the barrier for him as well. Yes.
Our daughter has didn't know any Chinese going over, but has in the 8 months or so has traveled around China now, gone to Shanghai several times, many times. For the spring break, traveled into the interior of China and has had a great time even not knowing the language. But the classes have really helped her to get a quick basic understanding to be able to navigate and to make sure that she's getting where she needs to go.
Thank you, everybody. And another question that comes up a lot that you put in your registration is really around health and wellness. So would anyone like to share about their experience with that at DKU?
So we sent our daughter with all the medicine that we thought she would need for her asthma, because I didn't quite trust, like, will she be able to get the same stuff? So we sent that. But a month or so into school, she had something going on with her ear. So she went into the health center, and that health center on campus has been very helpful to just help her figure out what's going on. And then they referred her to a specialist. And so 2 days later, she headed off to Shanghai. And her roommate went with her to translate anything that she needed. And they helped her that day, got it taken care of. And she now feels very confident about the Chinese medical health care. And when she came back home at Christmas, she was like, oh, I don't need to take that. I'll find it there. So she's taking care of it herself. And so that was really reassuring. She's not worried, so I know we don't need to worry. She can navigate it and get the help she needs.
Yeah, the how to say, the hospital in Kunshan is pretty good, and nearby Shanghai even more fantastic. Probably have most advanced hospital, the medicine in China. So my daughter had this, the toothache a couple of days ago. She says, Mom, I don't feel my teeth all right. So, and it's amazing that when she talked to the nurse at the DKU, they immediately give her a lot of resource. So one of them jumped out at the third hospital at Kunshan, and then she made appointment immediately with them. So she went over, they found a cavity in her wisdom tooth. So the check is 200 RMB. If pull it out, it's 400 RMB. So it's very affordable. It's very professional also. So I don't have concern at all putting my daughter. She's in the good hands. And then, the nurse and hospital there is very capable.
We're also very comfortable. Again, me more than my wife, but now she's also very comfortable with the health because Felipe plays a lot of sports and he had a bit of an injury on an ankle. and he was taken care immediately. Also, he's a bit less his food habits. He struggled in the beginning, but it was very well taken care of. So we're very comfortable with health and medical support.
Just one quick comment is the DKU does provide basic insurance. Okay, the students need to buy basic insurance. If you have international insurance, can be waived, but if you don't, DKU has this comprehensive insurance to cover all the medical expense. Just like you have U.S. healthcare, insurance, you can cover, your kids to a certain amount, then you pay a certain amount. So that whole insurance system is there as well. But in terms of all the medical costs, it's so much cheaper in China versus United States. My dad actually lived in the hospital, for 2 months, I think I took care of them. When we got the medical expense, it was 19,000 RMB. It's like less than 3,000 US dollar. If, it doesn't have insurance, that's how much it is. It's just incredible. So I don't think there's major concern, especially with insurance covered at the campus.
Thank you, everybody, for sharing on this topic. And I do want to highlight for all the participants on the call that our Office of Student Experience will be addressing these topics more around physical and mental health and more in our DKU Bound session next week, April 10th, titled Student Resources Arriving and Thriving on Campus. So that might be a good one if you'd like to kind of hear more about this. That'd be a great one to either join or watch the recording. So another topic that comes up very frequently is around internships, employment, graduate school. So I'm wondering if our panelists can share a bit more about how DKU supports graduate applications, employment, and internships. It'd be great to hear about your students' experience with this.
I'll go first. I mean, William did not apply to graduate school, so I can't comment on that. But he did do an internship in the United States after his junior year. He was interested in finance, secured an internship, leveraging both DKU and Duke. It's the division between the school. It's not a hard division. The schools work together. There's resources on the Duke side that you can use, particularly if you're looking for something in the United States. And then when he graduated, he didn't look that hard for a job while he was a senior. He just felt like he wanted to do other things. He wanted to travel. He wanted to have the experience there. He was pretty confident that when he got back and focused on work, that he would find something pretty quickly. My wife and I were a little bit skeptical about that, but it turned out that he was right. I mean, by the time that we came back from our travels after graduation in early June of last year, he rolled up his sleeves and he started looking, and he started work in August at the Bank of California. So although he's living in Durham, interestingly enough, but he works for the Bank of California, but he didn't have a lot of trouble. I think the employers were all rather interested in what he had done. The Duke name has a lot of cachet, and the DKU name and what it represents is really rising in prestige. The two things together, I think, made him a very viable candidate. He had a lot of good options, actually.
Yeah, I totally agree. Michelle, my daughter is a senior. She had a great time in terms of looking for internship, the support from Duke and DKU. She in the February, she sent out her reel. So she's looking for a TV reporter, TV news anchor. It's a very unconventional career. And I have nothing to do. I know nothing about it. I'm kind of worried that, the job market is slow. Her Duke professor and DKU professor basically told her, say, Michelle, hold, after you send it out 2 months, you probably don't get any response. And 6 months, you will land a job. Okay, but just be patient. And the week after she sent it out, she got so many responses come back. And she had, 10 TV stations lined up to interview her. Each interview is 5, I think it's 3 rounds. And she entered in the, final with 5 of them. She got 3 offer. And she decided to sign up with KFYR station as their political reporter. Usually they don't award this kind of position to the first, freshman graduating, right? Sports and the political is more prestigious. I have to say, I felt like her your BA is big asset to her. And she did mention this to me. She says, Mom, like standing on the feet, answering those questions, think about those scenarios. This education does, sort of showed up in them. Although you didn't realize until 4 years later, you said, okay, wow, this is my kid. And, the employer really place value in the DRBA because, her resume, her reel looks so different. And when she talked to them, her true passion showed up, right? So this program, I have to say, it speaks about the two programs. One is Duke, one is DKU. She has always have two advisors, academic advisors, at both campus. So she went to Duke for her third year. She did independent study with Dr. Lynn Owen. But her advisor over Duke also gave her a lot of support. Our kids has been outstanding performance in terms of academia. Even when they go to Duke study, they're placed on the top 5%. They're always the A students in the classroom. So they really have this strong support from Duke as well as from DKU. DKU, they have this really liberal arts engagement with their professors, fantastic professors. They were trained in Stanford, Columbia, Amherst College. They were trained in Duke. So they really engage with our children. They have really good, liberal arts education at the DKU campus. Duke is obviously bigger, right? When you go to Duke, it's a bigger, but our kids switch really well between two. So I speak highly about this program because I see it in my daughter. It's just fantastic. And she, I think she got her internship at 7 News in the freshman, junior, sophomore year. Right. And then so before that, she did her social media exploration. Whatever she's doing, she's getting enough support from both campus. So that is something that I'm really impressed with because you don't have this kind of support. My niece went to Harvard, right? I can see that she didn't get this kind of support from Harvard when she's looking for a job, but Michelle does have it. So I really am a big fan of this program. Yeah.
Similarly to what was commented by Sean and Rose, really there are two elements to Duke and Duke Kunshan. Felipe has done some research on he has taken a first internship in China as a research assistant at Duke Kunshan. The following two, he worked in Brazil. Now he's trying to get a job in China for his last internship. And he's been helped by both DKU as well as Duke, and he was very impressed with the power of the, and I think it was Sean's comment of Duke alumni. They were opening doors and helping a lot in terms of finding job opportunities even before his graduation. Certainly, it is a challenge for a Brazilian to find a job in China. So it is a pretty tricky path he's following. Again, he's pursuing his own growth, and we're trying to get, and he's being helped by Career Center, but it's a challenging goal he's pursuing. So we're very happy as well.
Thank you for sharing. And I also want to highlight for everybody that if you would like to kind of go deeper into this topic, in particular for Olivia, who dropped this question in the chat as well, that next week on April 9th, actually, we have our DKU Bound session, and it's dedicated completely to careers and internship support. So that's another great opportunity to kind of continue learning about this subject. And I'm going to ask my colleagues if they could also drop into the chat our most recent graduating class of 2024. The career report is also very informative in terms of Olivia's question, where do students typically go, finding employment. Our career report really shares a lot of that information. So be on the lookout in the chat for that. Another question that came up in the registration that I'd like panelists to address is communication between parents and students. How did you kind of talk about that before they left? Maybe in particular, our first year families. What kind of methods did you use to communicate, and how did you work together as a family to figure out how you want to communicate, especially as first year students?
So with our daughter, we communicate through WeChat, and we get the chats once in a while of texts. She usually gives one or two word um, responses to our questions or to say anything to us, but we also, through WeChat, can call and talk to her over the video conferencing. So we sometimes every other week or so will get a 1 hour chat with her and her friends as they're studying, and we're just kind of flies on the wall as she is chatting with her friends. And so it's been fairly easy that way. We didn't set up anything beforehand, except that our cellular carrier allows her to have her U.S. Phone number over there, and she can use it as well to communicate with us without extra charge. So that's been very nice, and that was kind of our first, hey, in case of an emergency, we at least have this. And she was quite uh, knowledgeable about the things in China to begin with. And so she was like, yeah, we'll just talk over WeChat. You don't worry about it. So
So we all got the app, and that's how but she communicates with her siblings on Instagram on instant message. So
And my son is communicating through Viber and WeChat as well. And in every week in some late evening, like 11 o'clock in his time, and we have around 8 o'clock in the evening. At that time, he normally call in his weekends, and Viber is very efficient for him to do chat with his mother and families here in Nepal.
We also used WeChat, and I sort of smile when I hear this question because when we put William on the plane the day that he went, I was a little bit sad thinking, oh, when are we going to hear from him? He's going so far away. And then he was like texting me from the plane over there, and then he was WeChatting me as soon as he got there. And that's just his personality. We heard from him a lot. Not because he was homesick or anything like that. His brother goes to college here in North Carolina, and we never hear from him. So it really is just the personality of the person. The technology is not a limit at all. And I often kind of forgot that he was halfway around the world because we heard from him so decently frequently.
Just add a little bit. I WeChat, Michelle. I also have Zoom. But with all the interviews, internship interviews, all these days they carry over Zoom. So the world just becomes so small because we can talk to each other through the Zoom or through WeChat, through Instagram, a lot of applications. So don't worry about that. If your kids is in China, if they like to talk, they will talk to you every day. Like William, right? Michelle also loves to talk to mom and dad. Miley would be like, "Don't worry about me. I'm doing great." So it just depends on your kid's personality, but they will be in touch.
And we have really one more question for the panelists that we want to close on, but I've been keeping an eye on the chat and I see a lot of questions are getting answered there. But I do see one that I wanted to particularly put Rose on the spot a little bit and ask her about this. And this is really a visa related question and a travel related question. In particular, Esther, I believe it is related to maybe the Kunshan event. So has anyone used the China transit visa for parents? The condition is that you travel to a third country on this return ticket. Any comment on this? Rose, I believe you're kind of up on this policy, which is
Oh.
relatively new,
So
right?
yeah, we have a parent group. And so in that parent group, one child was sick. So the father just needs to go to China as soon as possible. He doesn't have visa. And I believe that he used this visa successfully, getting to China, I think stayed 2 weeks taking care of the child. So that's what I I heard. But this is exactly so Chinese visa is much easier to get these days. I have 10-year visa. So you don't have to get 10-year. You can just get, the travel visa, whatever. I just want to be easy so I can go there how many times I want. But that particular visa, you go to the third country, landed, and in China you stay for 2 weeks. I believe 2 weeks, 10 days, something like that. Yeah, I know the parents did it just most recently.
Thank you for that, Rose. I'm just having a look at the chat here at the most recent question that came in.
Jen, can I say something real quick? So many
Yes,
of
of course,
these
please.
questions coming in. Any of the video calls and information things that DKU is having, it really pays to watch them or to go to them because they've thought of everything. They'll walk you through the things that you need to know. Even all of the insurance and phone things, like they take care of that for your students when they come. So read the emails, go to the calls. They really do help so that you're successful, so that you know what you need to know. So even though it's so overwhelming right now, they really have thought everything to help it be successful for all of you
Yeah.
and for us.
I totally agree with Katie. My daughter, so my daughter class 2025, right? And they were the ones that got into China. It was the last 3 days of quarantine. I just want to mention that, the DKU really is there for our kids. Okay. Remember before Michelle went there, she took a gap year because of COVID. DKU literally moved all their kids from China, fly them back to their country. Okay. And then I watched this. I said, okay, this is really cool. Who would do this, right? So this is actually strengthened my confidence in the program. So, after COVID starting, Michelle, couldn't go to DKU. So she went to Duke, studied the whole year. And then she was able to, when Duke sent the kids to the Europe, Barcelona for 1 semester. In that semester, that place is highly secured. It's just like a campus, and DKU spent the money to put our kids there, and then they had really good time. And when I meet her in the Copenhagen to fly her to China, because China opened finally. My daughter she becomes a traveler of the world. She knows the Europe like her backyard. Okay, she actually directed me. The 3 weeks were in the Copenhagen. When she landed in China, it was the last 3 days, right? She was actually in Baoshan in Shanghai. I don't know where she is, okay, but she says, I think I'm in Baoshan. And then they send her from the hotel to campus. It was a little chaotic because she didn't have the form ready for her dorm. So I directly pinned Christopher Van Walter. This is our international director. Chris says, "Don't worry, Rose, we'll sort it out." So he has people directly work with Michelle. She was able to get in her dorm, not exactly dorm, but the different dorm, right? So I just have to say, in those extreme situations, I see the responsibility, I see the accountability from our staff and our our DKU people. People really work together, make sure our children safe. So now is much peaceful time. Like when you travel to China, you don't have this kind of extreme cases. But I do appreciate, like looking back, I feel like class 2025 is a class experienced so much. They learned so much, but it also shows how much this program can give to our children. Your kids in the good hands, put it this way.
And building on Rose's comment, first semester of Felipe, he's a class of 2026. And also there was this question about going on site or doing that remote. And Felipe first semester, and as Rose commented, as a show of commitment from Duke, they set up a campus on Spain. Felipe was in the beginning a bit for how long will that be, just one term? And then he was willing to have more than one term because Barcelona is a wonderful place to go, and said no, but too much party, need to go back to academic. But it was a show of commitment from Duke to provide an alternative on that early stages of reopening. he didn't have a only I think Chinese nationals were allowed in on campus, and Duke set up a 1 semester in Barcelona. He was very happy about that. And a second point that I pick up on Rose from your comment, but I make it mine, make it ours. Felipe now is a way more independent adult. He travels to Asia. He travels to he went to Cuba just recently, and we were thinking and talking, my wife and I, we were worried a few years ago of him crossing a street. Now we're confident he can travel anywhere. So this level of not only academic but also independent kind of psychological growth is of great happiness to us. We're very happy of the way he is becoming mature and can handle. He went to Singapore, to Thailand, to a number of places, and we just know he's fine. He'll find his way. He went to Japan, and he's bringing the older brother into the traveling bandwagon. They're going to Southeast Asia on Christmas holidays, and we're kindly asked it's going to be a brother's trip. So it's all about growth. We're very happy.
I just want to add to that. I totally agree. And I see the question in the chat about it comes from Charlotte, North Carolina, actually, where I am, that what do most students from the US do during the winter break? I mean, I can't speak for most, but William, we asked him whether he was coming home for break, and he said, no, I'm going to go to the Philippines with my friend. And it's just amazing the way the kids travel, and they talk about going to Japan for break or here for break. I mean, it's an incredible opportunity again to travel around in a way that I don't think is so common. I know it's not so common for students in the U.S. Their frame of reference and their willingness to do that kind of thing it just changes a lot. And the infrastructure and structure in China is really fantastic. I mean, a lot of it is brand new. The safety of the place has been mentioned. I totally agree with it. It's also remarkably inexpensive. Now, that was our experience, that the cost of things there, it takes a little while to get accustomed to how easy it is to get things. The convenience of it, it's all digital and very inexpensive.
Yeah, so you can take a bullet train to, from Shanghai, Shanghai to Nanjing in 1 hour, right? So it's very easy, and I think it's for DKU kids, it's it's the coolest thing is that not coming home for Christmas. Michelle did once or twice, but the rest time she's traveling with her friends, and they're world traveler. And for this program is, I think we have 72 countries students now, right? And I think it's a big asset. They didn't realize now, but when they graduate, they, live their life, 10 years from now, they have their family everywhere in the world. That's what I call DKU family. And it's just amazing. You don't get this kind of, because they're so close. They're in the campus, not small. Okay, the campus is actually quite large, but they're in the world that they have, their cohort is just this size, 500, right? That's why they get close to each other. The kids are so open-minded. And Michelle described that, at the DKU, you can have a hug, open arm all the time, right? At Duke, you probably don't feel this way because it's 2000, class. If you go to State College, you probably lost, right? But at DKU, you really can have a nice chat with your friends, right? You hit each other and have lunch together, have coffee with your professor, things like that. It's just a coziness that really, if you like that, that's really a great place. Also, they definitely have a large boat. They've got a Duke. They've also got a Wuhan University. As the kids sent to Wuhan University to do a week of excursion there, they will send to Duke the third year for that semester just to experience what is big college look like. Michelle's favorite is still DKU after all the 4 years.
And panelists, I just want to raise a question that has come into the chat from Kenneth from Kentucky. It actually was also in the registration forms as well. So how does global relations and geopolitical issues affect your students studying at DKU?
Well, it didn't. It's not a very long answer, but it really didn't. I don't, to Rose's point, I mean, there's a real community there. The kids, I'll call them kids, they get very close and they don't really think about where their peers are from. I mean, William's, some of his very best friends were from Russia, for example. I don't think he really thought of the geopolitics of the U.S. versus Russia any more than he thought about the geopolitics of the U.S. versus China.
Yeah. So I have a story to share. When Michelle landed in China, before she found her apartment, she says, I miss home. So she went to a Starbucks. China has so many coffee shops, okay? Every brand you find in the United States is in China, okay? So she wandered into her favorite one, Starbucks, and she said, they're looking sad, must be. And this lady came to her. She didn't even speak very good English, okay? She says, how are you? And then she offered Michelle a free cup of coffee. So, and then she says, don't worry. She said, a lot of good people here, so it was just a lot of good people in China. Just, probably politician talks a different language. But I think this program is so great. It put those kids into a place we call it global village, right? It matters humanity wins, okay? Not how your political, ideology. So I think it's a great program, and Duke is very brave to build this program in China. And then, our kids actually brought those ideas back to Duke's campus when they were in Duke, right? So kids at Duke always asking why we have a campus in China. If you want to cross the biggest bridge, that's between China and the US. That's what Duke is doing. So I think this program, not just the academia program, it's a wonderful academia program. It's a program enable our kids to see the world. It also enable our kids to be the global leaders, right? So in this program, you have, a Schwarzman Scholar. You have, many prestigious, kids, who are going to prestigious program, graduates going to PhDs. If they want to find a job, they also go to the really, really good jobs like Sean and, Sean's son and my daughters, right? So I think there's no limits for our kids to explore in this program and to rise above and beyond. So, this is what my feeling about this program. And I think it's a very important program, not just because it's academically, it's such a strong program. We produced the first Rhodes Scholar, I think in the first class or second class. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. That's a great achievement. But there's almost every kid's there. I think it's an awesome kid. So that's why I want to say, congratulations to your kids, even to, get admitted to this program. That's a great achievement, really.
Similar to what commented on the campus and on normal life, we see very little change, or if any, just a impact towards more empathic or trying to learn the other side, So there's for me just the positive sides of learning. There is no issue at all affecting Felipe or affecting his life as result of the geopolitical tensions. And similar to what Rose said, if there's anything, they're learning that the diversity and variety is way more fun and helpful and health than polarization. So he's learning, and he has friends from all over the places that myself and my wife, we barely hear where they're from, and we're very happy about his mentality and his willingness to know different cultures. He's becoming a more mature and open-minded young adult.
Thank you, everyone. And I do have an eye on the time. I want to respect everyone's time today, our panelists and our participants. So the final question here is, what advice do you have for parents of class of 2029? Any tips on making their decision or for supporting their students while they're in China?
I don't know if I have any tips necessarily. We've talked through some of the issues. I would say that the whole thing was easier than I thought it was going to be. I think my wife was not as concerned is a too strong a word, but I thought it was going to be a more complicated transition. It was really no different in many ways than when his brothers went to college, and they both went to the United States. I asked William last night, I told him I was going to do this panel, and if there was anything he wanted me to sort of pass along. And he said, well, just tell people that, when you go to do DKU, it opens up a new section of your brain, quote unquote. And I think that's true. I think, the mechanics and logistics of having a college student aren't really fundamentally different at DKU than they are at any other place. It's what the student can do there that, in my opinion, they can't do elsewhere based on our experience. It depends on the kid. It takes a certain kind of kid to do this. To Rose's point, if you're interested in the program, you probably are that kind of person, at least, conceptually, but just, getting the opportunity, I think, is a fantastic thing. It was a great thing for our family and our student. And I would certainly recommend it.
We also see a tremendous growth of Felipe. Last time that I was there in October, I noticed firsthand how challenging was in terms of culture, but how well he handled and how valuable that growth was. Because I was there by myself. My wife decided not to join me for a number of reasons, and I was there by myself. So it is for a Brazilian native, it is a different culture. But again, growth happens when you're challenged, and there is a lot of support. There's a lot of it's a safe environment, and his growth is really amazing. So just embrace the new if your kids decide to go.
Yeah, I would say, if your kids decide to go, that's a wonderful, great opportunities. And I think you will enjoy too. This program just offers so much. It's hard to, sometimes you can measure things with, the graduation rate, acceptance rate, all that stuff. I think there are a lot of stuff that you can't measure in DKU. That's the value that this is truly a global program. Your kids go in there, of course, they will learn things about China. They will learn things about Chinese culture, but they really embrace with some of the countries. Every student has a voice. Every student, has their culture shine. So there's so many cultural programs in DKU. That is the most diversified campus you will see. And then, from my daughter's experience is that she said, Mom, I can call everyone my friend. This is how close they are. And from her academia background, I think it's very rare you will find, a prestigious college like Duke, like Wuhan University. They breed such a cute, liberal arts program, intensively teaching our kids, the things they need to learn, and then to stand out. Michelle's not only one finding an unconventional career in 2025 class. Her friends, her classmates found, meta offer. Her friends found, started entrepreneurship. The kids just doing amazing things in this program. So I really hope your kids, your wonderful kids, can commit to this program, because I've seen this in my daughter. My daughter applied this program as a regular. My younger one will apply this program as ED. I hope my younger daughter can get into this program. This is how much this program has transformed our family.
When I asked our daughter's group of friends the hardest part about being at DKU and the best part, one of the gals said, "This is the most friends I've ever had in my life. When I was in high school, it was hard to make friends, and here I've found my group of people." And that wasn't even our daughter saying that. And then the other thing, what was the hardest more is the language, but not really. It's the knowing, like, the amount of money this costs, or knowing that my family's giving up so much so that I can be here. But all of the risks, if they're willing to go, I would say take the risk, let their wings fly as they figure out life. And going to China, when we went for that welcome trip, it was a gift to get to meet other parents who were on the same crazy train of, we're willing to let our kids go to China and see what happens. And we were all crazy together in a beautiful way.
Getting admitted in DKU is one of the good decisions your child may make. Because once I've already told that my son got a scholarship at the one of the state university in the US, and he finally decided to go to China because there's a combination of two different good universities from two different countries, and he has a good source of studies as well as the source of uh, life, that how people from the different cultures get together and join the team and make a global village. So he learned from that itself, from the life in the class. So it is very much good decisions the, that the students may take once they get admitted.
Well, thank you, Devesh. I think that is a great note to close on. And before we close, I do want to make sure that you know about all the great DKU bound sessions we have coming up. The link is in the chat, but I'm going to throw it in there one more time. I believe there it is. In particular, this week we have coming up a panel around life in China tomorrow. It's a student panel around life in China. And then this week, there's several sessions on thriving at DKU. So please be sure to continue to check those out, either, in person or live virtually rather, or, check the recordings on that schedule. But otherwise, thank you so much to our panelists today for your time, for sharing your experiences. Thank you so much for everyone who's participated. All right. Well, hope everybody has a great rest of your weekend.